Do you have your giveaway stuff ready now?
I do.
What is it going to be?
Trivia's a poster. What's it worth is stickers and your appreciation of Maglite.
Who gets a mag light?
VA, view appreciation.
Oh, the VA. Like Veterans Affairs, like that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about all last week's stuff? Did you get all that out already? I know sometimes we get backed up. We don't have,
No, I did.
we didn't have,
I have it all. It all went today.
okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got, what was I going to say? This event, you know, this thing's coming up.
What?
This
This.
NorCal reunion. You know what? I got to start the show, and I'll make the announcement on that.
Okay.
I think I'm going to do it at the top and the bottom
Okay.
of the show. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Do I have theme music?
What?
Do I have theme music?
Yeah, usually.
Oh, wait. Be quiet. Someone has to speak.
I'm Don Kadowski, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Don't go anywhere.
Everyone, I'm Joe Abbate. Thank you for joining me tonight on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I have the lovely and enchanting Gladys Torres Abbate with me tonight. Not a lot of people know that your name is Gladys, but that is her real name. But we always called her Susie.
Torres.
Torres, yes.
There's a Torres watching. There was today.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you've got your giveaway prizes. You know the trivia answer. We're going to be giving away a poster.
I do. We're giving away a poster for trivia and what's it worth? Stickers?
Yeah, there's the poster for the trivia.
Yeah.
And I've got, got
And
stickers like this for,
Yep.
what's it worth?
And I just made a new batch today.
Fresh
Fresh.
From
hot
Susie.
off the press.
from Susie Creations and
A Maglite.
the Maglite.
For viewer appreciation.
And we've got a call-in trivia. Let me turn off the ringer
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and we'll get on with the show. You know what? This is really here. I just mentioned this a minute ago. The big one is coming. Northern California Motocross Reunion. It happens October 18th. Now we're just about coming into August, so you got September, October. This is a big event, guys. Look at the confirmed list of celebrity riders and industry professionals that are on this list. DeCoster, Bailey, the Fox brothers, Glover, Grassi, Lackey, Tom Rapp, Pat Richter. I can't wait to meet Daryl Schultz. I'm going to be doing an interview with him in the very near future. Steve Simons, Dana Waxham. And you know what? I've got another confirmed guest from this week. Somebody you're going to want to meet. Definitely a legend in the sport. I've been living out here a long time. I've been to a lot of events. I don't believe I ever saw this guy above Anaheim, north of Anaheim. Really. So I'm going to tell you about it a little bit later on. In the meantime, I want to thank all of our sponsors, including Racer X, the International Motocross Museum, and Motion Pro, Vinco, Voltaco, East Preston Petty Products, Full Circle, Amsoil, and don't forget our new email address is vmxqalive@gmail.com. You know, I'm telling you what it is. It'd be a good idea if I remember to actually check the email every day to see if you actually sent me something. Hey, if you want to be a supporter of the show, for $49.95, you get yourself a shirt, and you get yourself some really cool Amsoil products and some stickers. You get a nice package. And it all comes directly from me. All right. $49.95 shirts are normally how much is just a shirt alone? 24?
Just a shirt?
Yeah, just a shirt.
It's 22.
22 plus the shipping. This is $49.95.
Yeah.
But you're going to get some other cool stuff that goes along with it for $49.95. Wherever you're watching the show from, please do me a favor. Share it with your friends. Tell your mom, your sister, your pastor, whoever it might be. Tell them to come on down and watch Vintage Motocross Q&A. All right? And we are going to cut to a next time, try this segment. right now, and I try and spread this out. The next time try this segments between me and Roy, and sometimes Jerry Maddox jumps in here. But this was a really good one. I was going over them the other day, and it's from me. I think you're going to like it. Here we go. This week, I want to talk to you about Grease. No, not about that great movie from the 70s starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, but I want to talk about grease as in lubricants. Okay? Now, there is something called the National Lubricating Grease Institute. Yes, there is an organization that keeps track of manufacturers of grease, the quality of them, how they're made, and what they're good for. Now, when most of us go out there, you go into an auto parts store, you're going to buy grease, and it's just your basic type of grease that we're all familiar with, and it's got the consistency of maybe peanut butter. But the reality of it is, greases come in a lot of different viscosities, the same way oil does. And the rating on them is from 000, which is just about the consistency of olive oil, all the way up to a number 6, which would be so thick it would be like cheddar cheese. That's how thick it would be. Here it is. Here's a good display of it. It tells you exactly what the thicknesses and the viscosities are compared to something you would be more familiar with, whether it's cooking oil, applesauce, frozen yogurt, whatever it may be. But there are different consistencies in the grease that you're going to use in certain bikes. So if you're going to use something, say, in the steering bearings of your bike, you're not going to want something that's too thick, okay? You're going to want something a little on the softer side that's going to move around in that bearing and in the races a little bit easier. If you're going to grease something, say, a wheel bearing of your bike, or many of you have trucks, and I'm sure you have trailers, you're going to want something a little thicker in there, maybe a 4 or a 5 when it comes to viscosity and that type of grease. Now, something you have to keep in mind is that your bearings get hot. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. How hot do they get? Well, that's going to depend on what kind of grease you should be using. A grease needs to melt, but not melt to the point of where it's going to migrate away from your bearing. You don't want it to migrate away. You want it to stay around the bearing. You want it to get just liquid enough to move around and keep lubricating the bearing without running out. You don't want it so thick, though, that it doesn't get hot, it doesn't liquefy to some point and move around at all. So next time you're out and you're in an auto parts store, or you're doing a bearing change or cleaning your bearings and races on your bike, think about the viscosity of the grease. And when you go out, you'll get the right stuff for the job. I want to thank Amsoil, a former sponsor of this show. They've got a great little list here, and they've got a lot of information on their website too. So if you go over to amsoil.com, you'll find out a lot more about grease, viscosities, and different places and ways you can use it. So next time you're out shopping for grease, try that. Thank you, Russell Waters and Amsoil. And they are, in that segment, I said they were a former sponsor. They've been helping us out for a long time. Got a lot of great products that we use here in the shop every day from Russell Waters. That Vinco is, of course, brought to you by Vinco. Be sure to keep the ride going at Vinco.com. They still have the Kawasaki KX450 pistons, 1974. They're $189.95, and they come from standard size all the way up to third over. In the Moto Showcase tonight, which is brought to you by Preston Petty Products, I've got a great little bike that was sent into us by Paul Griffin, and everybody loves a 125 Mako. Here it is. Let's get right down to it. I was lucky enough to purchase this Mako 125 from Gunther Gemelin, who was the Mako race team manager along with Selvaraj and Ariana, handling the Trans Am team back in the early 1970s. Gunther, he worked in the Mako factory before they sent him to America to travel here with Adolf Veal, Garrett Walsink, Willie Bauer, and Hans Maisch. When I purchased his bike from Gunther, he gave me the rundown of every part that was indeed correct and that I needed to build the perfect square barrel 125. When I purchased this bike, I made sure that I made a list and that I definitely went out to purchase all of them. The engine date was stamped December of 1973, so I knew it was a 74. Plus, it has a high serial number for such a limited production of the final batch of square barrel 125 engines, just months before the radial fin 125 engine was designed and released in 1975. Restoring a Mako 125 is like restoring a vintage chrome Tour de France bicycle. Every piece is one-off compared to the other full-size Makos. The tubing of the frame is smaller in diameter and also thinner to keep it lightweight and so it could compete with the Japanese bikes, notably the Honda Elsinore. I had to quickly go hunting for a pair of rear shocks, a Rodelli Italian rear rim, and that tiny rear Mecla tire that didn't exist for decades which is actually only a 318. I would imagine that would be extremely difficult to find, Paul. But here you are, and you did it. We've got the 2-cable Bing carburetor, which was trick with the separate McGregor choke lever attached to it. And he supplied the Gunther actually supplied everything in primo NOS condition. So I gave WUSA the task of rechroming the original Rigelli rim. Then we laced them up to the Metzlers, and everything went on as smooth as silk. All McGregor controls, grips, bars, levers, controls, everything down to the McGregor oval chrome kill button is NOS. Dan Vitoletti has a huge help in the entire build, especially the engine, the new piston, the rod, bearings, gaskets, and just pure 125 know-how all came from Dan in the Northwest. Just to think about it now, everything you need to know about Makos, well, Dan seemed to know. Just finishing touch was the NOS stock seat. And this came out with the Mako factory, the stock color, and that Volkswagen popsicle orange. So we kept it that way. Here's another good look at that little square barrel engine, how neat and clean that ignition cover looks on this side compared to the bigger bikes. And yeah, there's a real good picture of it all right there. And you know something? I have something additional that I want to share with you on this bike. And if you just give me a second, I'm going to get it for you, and I think you're going to like it. Something we don't get to see too often when people send in a Moto showcase bike. But Paul wants to show his bike, and I tell you, I really want to see it. So let's get a closer look. Where are we here? Hang on. There it is.
We'll do the little video.
Yeah, Paul took a nice little video, and he did an absolutely beautiful job on this bike, as he does on all of his Makos.
Nice, okay.
Don't forget to share the show, guys. Tell your friends about it. Post it in some of your vintage motocross groups. Paul, you did a spectacular job. The chrome, the paint, the polishing. First rate. Looks exactly the way, probably better than it came out of the crate. Thank you again, Paul Griffin, for sending in this absolutely beautiful little bike, Mako 125. Paul, I know you might still be after some red grips from Preston Petty, but they don't have red grips. Whatever you might want from the show that you see on the show, including black grips from Preston Petty, or maybe you want a shirt, Vintage Motocross Q&A shirt, whatever it might be. Let me know. I'll be happy to mail it to you. Also, Paul sent in something about there's a big event coming up this weekend. It's supposed to be one of the hottest shows. We're going to bring it up a little bit later on in the announcement. Okay, getting a little ahead of myself here tonight. You know what time it is, Susie?
No,
What's my favorite time of the show?
it's
Trivia.
trivia.
Yeah, that's it. We moved it up because you know what? Got a lot of guys watch the show. They're getting on in their years, and while they come in here gung ho at 6 between, it could be 6 o'clock, it could be 9 o'clock. It could start fading by about 9:30. So I have moved up trivia so everyone gets a fair chance. Trivia is brought to you by Motorcyclist Illustrated. Thank you, Mike McCook. Be sure to visit Motorcycle Illustrated on their Facebook page. The prize tonight is, of course, a beautiful 18 by 24 poster, a cover shot of 2004 back from Racer X. They made it a poster, and somehow Mike McCook got a nice batch of them, and he decided that he wanted to share them with us, okay? This is a call-in contest. Here's the number, guys, 925-784-2195. Do not give the answer in a text message. Do not give the answer in a message on the Facebook page during the show. Call in if you know, okay? This is I didn't know this, and I think it's a really great question. Ready? Don't forget, call in, 925-784-2195. Here's the question. Who was the first racer to win a 500cc championship on a two-stroke?
The world champion.
A world championship. Who was the first racer to win a 500cc world championship on a two-stroke? You call in, you let me know who that is, and you're going to get yourself a nice poster, compliments of Mike McCook and Motorcyclist Illustrated. Dave's Corner. I love this part of the show. It's called Dave's Classic Corner. And that isn't actually Dave's shop. Dave's shop is a much more vast than that. Dave is right now out in Mid-Ohio with Chicago Jerry and a bunch of other guys. But if you would like, follow Dave Boyden on Facebook, guys. AMS, a huge supporter of vintage motocross and throughout the country, but Dave's been a big supporter and has helped a lot of people. He also puts up a lot of great content every day on Facebook. All right. So let's get a look at what Dave has sent in for us this week for the for Dave's Classic Corner.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dave from AMS Racing out in Mesa, Arizona. I was just kind of digging into one of these things I haven't been into for a little while, one of the shipping containers. And I thought I'd show you a couple things that I haven't shown anybody for a while. This is a 360 Mako square barrel, and that is an American Eagle frame that a friend of mine did the mounts, and we got the motor in the chassis. That makes this a Sprite in England, and Sprite sold 360 Mako kits. There was a video on ARMA's front website that actually showed you them inserting the motors in the chassis and lining the bikes up outside. Yet the bike's not qualified for early sportsman stock or classic for some reason. I don't know. Rules, rules, rules. I worked on this bike and kind of just set it together about 5 years ago, maybe more than that. Other NOS wheel assemblies. Metal profile fork set was new. The Lytle tank was on a Husky 125. And there's a Mako pipe, a stock pipe from a 360 back in the day. And you can see we just kind of in the mock-up stage on this. I never quite got built. So this is around a 1967 360 square barrel Mako. Just putting a project together and then found out that we didn't have any classes here in the United States to run it. So I just left it in the shed for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. This is a Sprite 360 American Eagle. How do you tell it's a 360 over a 400? The compression release is mounted up by the top of the exhaust port in there if you look. Sort of like SC500 Yamahas were. Just a mock-up project, but a pretty rare dang bike. Have a great day. I'll show you some more.
Love those videos from Dave Boyden. Dave, great job, and I hope you're having a fun time in Ohio. Send us in some videos, Dave. And don't forget, follow Dave Boyden on Facebook. Great videos every day. He brought us something from a museum the other day. Today, he was out at Chicago Jerry's and just been sending in some really, really cool stuff, okay? It doesn't appear that we have a winner yet in the trivia contest. If you haven't called in yet, you could do that, but we want to know who was the first racer to win a 500cc World Championship on a two-stroke. Who was that? Okay. It's calling contest 925-784-2195. We are going to move on to the Here's the Problem segment. The Here's the Problem segment is brought to you by Motion Pro. Be sure to visit them online at motionpro.com. And you can save 20% across the board when you use MP9135. That's MP9135 at checkout. First question comes in from Al Roof from North Carolina. Excuse me. After riding for 55 years, how do you cope when your health will not allow you to ride off-road anymore? Especially when reflecting upon great riders like Tony DeStefano, David Bailey, Wayne Rainey, and Jerry Robbins, etc. The question seems petty, but the emotion of loss is real. So, suggestions for coping skills would be greatly appreciated. Well, I'm going to say this to you. Al. Okay, we're a fortunate group that we had a chance to go back to revisit our youth with this whole vintage motocross, this whole vintage movement. Okay, whether it's ARMA or other movements or whatever it may be, you got to rebuild bikes, you got to go out and race again, you got to share some great stories and reintroduce yourself to people that you didn't meet before. I know, Al, you've spoken to Chris Carter and so many others. You joined us at the International Motocross Museum fundraiser. You got pictures with just about everybody. So I hate to get all, philosophical and get a tissue out and it's a big emotional thing. It's not. But I think Alfred Lord Tennyson said it the best. Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Think about all the great times you had, Al. Your health is doing better. Elijah's a wonderful boy. You got a beautiful wife. You had a great time. Physically, we're all getting older, and we can't do all the things we always did. You did it once. Some guys are sitting in a cubicle wondering about how to pay for college and braces and never rode a motorcycle in their lives. Looks different now, doesn't it? Let's move on to Alan Huey's question. Where are you, Alan? Here you go. How long was ATK in business for? What is the history and how did they get their start? It's a really good question and it's a really cool bike, and I got the answer for you right here. In fact, I got some pictures for you too. The ATK Motorcycles is an American company. It was initially known for its innovative off-road motorcycles. Founded in 1985 by Horst Leitner, ATK initially focused on in-house chassis design and modified engines, later transitioning to badge-engineered models. The company was named after Leitner's invention, the anti-tension Kettentrieb, okay? And that is sort of what we're looking here when you see that chain over those guides and how it wraps around the sprocket. Well, kind of know how that works. Here's a little bit better of an explanation if you see it in this drawing. All right. It helped reduce the chain torque, and that's what it did. While ATK motorcycles are no longer in production, the company continued to support previously sold models through parts and services. Key aspects of the ATK: innovation. ATK was a pioneer in off-road motorcycle design, particularly with its anti-torque system. Early models had the company's early models like the 406. They were known for their unique handling characteristics and were powered by Rotax engines. A-Track system, the patented system, later known as A-Trax, used guide pulleys to manage chain torque and improve suspension and performance. You got the transition badge engineering was happening around 2004. ATK sort of shifted their engineering, rebadged it. They started using the Huie brand. ATK still provides, and this is kind of a big part of your question, Alan, till this day, today, ATK still makes parts. You can go buy a frame, you can still go buy a Rotax engine, the forks, the wheels. You could buy anything that they made for those bikes back in 2004, and you can still build a bike. So they do not produce motorcycles as a whole out the door rolling, but you can go buy any part you need. It was a very interesting question, and they do hold, of course, a historical significance in the motorcycle world. They got a special place in history with the off-road motorcycles, and I mean, I always loved this bike. I always wanted one. It just never seemed to be the right time. I love Rotax engines. I've had a couple of Can-Ams, absolutely love them. So between that and just the unique the unique fabrication of the bike, how it's made with this disc brake on the countershaft sprocket with that one shock in the back, and it's only on the left side of the swing arm. And in this one, I mean, this one's a 4-stroke, and it's air-cooled. Very cool. I would not get a 4-stroke, but I would certainly get a 2-stroke with a Rotax engine. Okay, we are going to. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to thank Russell Waters and Amsoil for giving us some really cool stuff here to use in the shop. If you want to buy directly from Russell, you could go to www.theoilpeople.shopamsoil.com, and you can buy directly from Russell Waters. Susie left our illustrious studios a while ago with the phone. She hasn't been back with the answer to the trivia, and the question was, who was the first racer to win a 500cc world championship on a 2-stroke? Susie, you're back. Do you have an answer?
No.
No answer yet.
No.
I'm going to give you a big hint, guys. It was not a Belgian.
It was what?
He was not from Belgium.
Oh.
I bet you a lot of people said Roger de Coster, didn't they?
One person did.
And they probably said Joe Abbate.
There was Heike.
Heike, no.
Jeff Smith.
No, Jeff Smith rode a 4-stroke. He was world champion in 63, 64, I think. Anyway, he was from, not from Sweden. He was not from Belgium. And he is not from the country where his motorcycle was made. Keep trying, guys. 925-784-2195. 925-784-2195. Okay? He wasn't on a Mako either. Although you might want to keep that.
Oh.
All right, here we go. Works for me segment. Terry and I have been extremely busy with International Motocross Museum stuff, along with Mike Secor. We haven't really had a moment to sit down and tape anything for the What's at Work segment tonight. But would I let you down? Of course not. My favorite bike in the International Motocross Museum happens to be this 1976 OW27 that Bob Hanna used in 1976 season, perhaps the most unbelievable national season of all up until this day, the most competitive and just an unbelievable time that it was. Of course, Marty Smith, Bob Hanna, so many other people that were involved. Now, a while back when there was a International Motocross Museum fundraiser, I went around and I took a video of the bike. I had always had intentions of putting a voiceover to it, but I haven't had a moment. So we're going to add it to the show. 27 of Bob Hanna from 1976. Looks very similar in some ways to a 76 YZ125C, except it has the strap-on tank. The pipe is on a different side. The cases on this bike are remarkably close to YZ125C cases. I have had a top end, one of Bob's spare top ends, and that clutch cover in my shop, and they do fit on 76 YZ125C bottom end. The frame is completely different. The front wheel is different as well. The hub is magnesium. The forks are a little bit thicker. Very impressive. Look at the machine work on these triple clamps and the way that radiator is mounted. The plumbing, very, very trick for the time. And it certainly helped Bob get ahead and really, really give Marty Smith a hard time. The OW extension, there's the number plate. Bill Butchka actually painted those numbers on there. That is the original plate from the bike. If we look closely here on the front hub, you're going to see something a little bit different. It's got a steel actuating arm with 3 holes through it. See it there? Bob preferred the steel. It didn't flex as much as the aluminum actuator, so we kept that on the bike. You look at the head and the cylinder from the side, it looks remarkably stock, although when we get a closer look, we do see that it is quite different. Okay? The countershaft sprocket, the shift, things like that, look very, very similar. This swing arm, you have to see it in person. It is not round. It is like a rectangular shape over the top and over the bottom rail, the opaque side panels, and so much more that went into this bike. Okay? Now, the handlebars were remarkably stock, and Bob preferred a McGregor perch on the right side for the front brake, and then he had a split perch on the other side, basic Yamaha stuff. And there you have it, the OW27, a bike I loved and hated. Why did I love it? Because I had a brand new bike in 76. It was a YZ125C. Why did I hate it? Because I was enamored with Marty Smith, and I really wanted Marty Smith to win again. But alas, Hanna came out on top. Smith did bounce back in the 500s years later, and the rest, as we say, is history. And there you have it, the OW27 from the International Motocross Museum. This is Joe Abbate. You're live on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Who am I speaking with? Hello? George Macho. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to read the question to you again, and you can give me the answer. Who was the first racer to win a 500cc World Championship on a two-stroke?
It was an East German rider, Paul Fredericks.
Paul Fredericks is the correct answer. It is Paul Friedrichs, I think it is, or Fredericks. And I've got a thing right here. Some people were saying that it was that it might have been Jeff Smith. It was not Jeff Smith. We see Jeff Smith in 63, 64. But here's Paul Fredericks. He did it 3 years in a row, too. 66, 67, and 68 on a CZ. And there's a picture of Paul Fredericks right there. Great time in motocross. Thank you for calling in, George. Hey,
Tell him to just message you his address.
George, you have my phone number right here. So do this. When we hang up, text message me your address, and I will get you that really cool poster of Jimmy Weiner and Tony DiStefano, okay?
All right.
George, thanks so much for playing along.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right. There you have it. Do we have a commercial to play here anywhere near here?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, because I need a little bit of a break. We're going to have a commercial. We will be right back with more Vintage Motocross Q&A.
I'm Brock Glover, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and we'll be right back.
Motocross struck America, coming from Europe like a lightning bolt, striking the hearts and minds of people all across the country and the world. Battles of intense racing and cutting rivalries with loyalty to brands and heroes intensified as years of blood, sweat, and dirt flew through the minds of those memories of champions as they wrestled their machines through almost impossible tracks. But where are those past champions? And where are their bikes? Terry Good, an ex-pro motocross racer, has made it his life mission to honor these heroes and the bikes they rode to stardom. We raced, we rode, we lived and breathed motocross. Go back in time and relive those moments, now preserved for the first time ever in the world's first museum dedicated to the history of motocross. Our new building is in the gate. Help us get a great start and you can be part of history. Go to internationalmotocrossmuseum.org and become a part of our team.
The International Motocross Museum is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. Be sure to visit them online at internationalmotocrossmuseum.org. Everything you buy or any donation you may make is 100% tax deductible. What's it worth? What's It Worth is brought to you by Full Circle Racing. This is, of course, the portion of the show where I invite you, the viewers at home, to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. And if you do, you get 2 stickers like this. Put them on the back of your truck, put them on your motorcycle, your toolbox, whatever you might have. Okay? I'd like somebody to comment on the audio. The audio good tonight? I think it is. Intermission? No, I get no intermission, Lee Miller. Google doesn't know a damn thing about the early motocross, y'all. That's from Al Roof. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Phil Liberty loves Amsoil, and George Ackerman. What a beautiful Mako. Yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on here on the show tonight. But I've got to get back to it. And this is, of course, the portion of the show where you guys get to guess how much you think this bike recently sold for. And this is going to be a tough one. I think this is going to be about as tough as you guessing how much or who the trivia, who with the answer to the trivia tonight. All right, here's the bike.
Here we go.
1975 CZ Volta 400, factory-produced replica to be built to commemorate Czech racer Jaroslav Falta's second place finish in the 74 250cc World Motocross Championships, and this example was acquired by the seller in 2005. All right, there's a whole bunch of wrong stuff there already, but that's okay. It was reported by the second owner. Powered by an air-cooled 380c two-stroke single engine paired with a 5-speed transmission, the motorcycle features a silver-finished aluminum alloy fuel tank, white plastic bodywork mounted over a red painted single down-tube frame. It also has a Kickstarter, radio cooling fans, an upswept expansion chamber, and an exhaust system. It also has drum brakes, some really cool air shocks, and telescopic forks. I really like what I see on this bike on a personal note, which is not written here in the description, but it's very, very original, and some of the parts do have quite a patina on them, and with good reason. Not everything was plated over there in Czechoslovakia when they put these bikes together. Okay? Anyway, the rear shocks have no springs. They have air springs. They have laced wheels with Ackerman aluminum rims, as well as replacement fuel tank strap, a Preston Petty high mount front fender, and it has a cross brace handlebar in the black seat. The CZ400 is offered at a no reserve in Indiana. It is for off-road use only. There's a couple of more pictures. The bike had the original Method tires on it. There was a receipt. I didn't put it up here because it had the guy's name on it. There was a receipt that said he spent about $300 or $400 at Northwest Mako at some point, and he bought that tank strap, and he bought a couple of other things. Now, what really impressed me about this bike was this pipe. It's in really, really nice condition. Not pretty nice condition, really nice. Might have one dent on it on the outside here. But other than that, everything else looks like really, really respectable on the bike. So, how much do you think this bike recently sold for? CZ400, very, very original, except the tank strap and the front fender and a couple of other odds and ends. I think they put a piston in the bike too, but it doesn't look like it was ever raced or really abused. How much do you think this bike recently sold for? 55, 65, a cool 4,000. This bike sold for an undescribably, unbelievably low $2,550 plus a 10% buyer's premium. Add $250 to that. Let's call it $2,900, 25, 26, 27, 28. Let's call it $2,850.
Well, Albert must have known about it because he even has a date it sold on July 17th. So he had it.
Well, I can't argue. Is he the first one who put it
Yeah,
in?
he is.
Well, if Al Roof is the first guy to put it in,
He said $2,550 plus a 10% buyer's fee.
all right, Al. What am I going to do? You got the whole shot. It looks like you had the answer before the show. Before the show even started. But you know what? Congratulations, Al Roof. You played fair and square, and you happened to get the answer right on the button. You have my phone number. Send me your mailing address, and I'll get you a poster. If you already have a poster and you want something else, let me know what you might want. Oh, you know what else I have? I don't have a picture of them here. I got those really cool posters from Dave Boyden sent them to me, but he didn't donate them to the show. I can't think of the guy's name who did. He's in Arizona. He had a shop. It would take me a minute to figure that out. But Ramsey, not Dave Ramsey, not the money guy, a different, Bill Ramsey. Bill Ramsey sent us in some posters, the ones of Hannah's Yamaha and the ones with Lackeys and Pomeroy's Honda. You've seen them, okay? If you want one of those out, let me know, okay? That's it. In the meantime, you know what? If you want to get a shirt, you can get a shirt like this. I tell you, when I put this shirt on, when I look in the mirror, when I wear this shirt, I see myself twice in the mirror. It looks just like me. Look at it. Come on. Anyway, if you want a shirt like this, you can get one. You can get it in any color you like, yellow, gray, black, or white, $24.95 up to double X, $3 more. You get yourself a triple X or a quadruple X. So any logo on any color, including the tune that was made for us by Kurt Evans, okay?
Yeah.
So you can have that. Next segment coming up is sponsored by Taco East. Thank you, Steve Grandis, Taco East, for being a sponsor of our show. And we'll be back with more specials in the very, very near future from Steve Grandis. Now, this is called the Expansion Chamber, and it's brought to you tonight by Roy Vanderveer, okay? And when I first saw this video, I first thought, well, this is a little silly, but it would be fun on the show. But it's actually not silly. What's really cool about it is how Roy put this video together, and it really makes a lot of sense. Okay, and I'm going to set it up for you here just a little bit. I prefer boxes like this in my shed. Clear plastic boxes, big white strip of paper on the front of it. I write the name of whatever's in the box inside there. I can see it clearly, and I just love the way it looks. That's on both sides of my shed, which is 10 by 12. Believe me, if I have it, I know where it is. But Roy's got a little bit of a different approach toward this. Let's get a look at it.
Look at your
Hello, friends. Are you overwhelmed, overworked, underappreciated, feeling down and out, and things have become too complex, and you just can't cope or find the things that you know that you have? Well, I'm Roy Vanderveer, and I'm here to help. Introducing the new Bin Master 5000 automatic custom bin builder tool. Here it is. The way it works is we just take a plain old box, remove the flaps, give it a slice across the front, down the sides, and that's no longer a box. That's a bin. Let's take a walk through what we've got going on here. Here's how it works. Nobody likes a messy race shop. Real bins are expensive and hard to track down right when you need them. So to repurpose the boxes from all the fancy titanium parts you've been smuggling into the house over the past few months, all at no extra cost, may I add, this will help you afford funds to go get more stuff from Nightmare Racing, Motion Pro, Vinco, Amsoil, Preston Petty, Full Circle Racing, or Sunrise Vapor Blasting, or any of our other fine sponsors. So let's take a look at the things we've got going on here. Obviously, we've got the big bins for the big projects. At any given time, I've got like 20 different projects going on here, and I need to figure out how to keep this stuff organized. If you look here, we've got engine parts for a 400 Pilot. And then we're on to some other general stuff that I just need to keep track of. I needed to find these things, and man, they had disappeared somewhere in my shop. I've been looking for weeks and weeks and weeks. Finally found them and decided it was time to put some sense to all this stuff. In this box of Honda Pilot parts, we see these engine isolators. There's 3 of them here. Yeah, well, there's supposed to be 4. I've been losing sleep over where that 4th isolator got to. And while I was finding these, look what walked back into my life. Now I can sleep at night. So, and remember, as your bin building skills improve, you can make all kinds of custom bins. Bins with little boxes, bins with big boxes, bins with rectangular boxes, and little parts bins. So once you get your life in order, I look forward to seeing you all out at the racetrack.
Roy Vanderveer. You know, at first when I started watching that video, I thought, Roy's off the meds. What is he doing here? He's got a box cutter. He's got, what is he doing? But as I watched it, it was entertaining, and it's really, really a good idea. I mean, not everybody can have, you know, or you have the room for something like this where you have a shed and you're, you know, you got OCD like me, and you can't have something like that. But everybody's got some cardboard boxes around, and you can cut them up like that, make them look neat, and you'll always know where your stuff is. Thank you, Roy Vanderveer. I thought it was a really, really good idea and well presented. It was fun. It was entertaining. It was really good. Bultaco East. Thank you once again, Steve Grandis, for helping us out here with the show and for all you do with your wonderful Bultaco parts. And if you're watching, Steve, I still need parts for that boat tail. I just got the hardware back the other day, so I'm bleeding a little bit from that and a couple of other things I had to buy. But I will be back in touch with you regarding the parts that we talked about, okay? I have a big announcement, and here it comes. Anybody recognize this guy? That's Ted Boyko. Ted Boyko is, talk about the old G, the old guard. Ted Boyko was employed by DG back in the 70s. That's where he cut his teeth on porting, polishing, helping build pipes, sweeping up around the shop. Boring. He became a racer, and he was pretty damn good at that too. Many, many years later, in fact, I think it's just in the past 8 or 9 years, he opened up Boyko Racing. This is in Laguna Hills. He's got a shop down there, and Ted is a pretty good friend of mine. I've asked him to be a sponsor on this show for years, and it's not that he can't afford it. He can. He says he has too much work, and I believe him because I've seen his shop. There's not a day that you go in there. The UPS is in and out of there all day long. He's got 2 boring bars running. He's got cylinders to port. He's got cylinders to It's incredible how busy this guy is. Now, I felt it was important to get his knowledge on the show, and we're going to have it. The same way we do it with Terry Good, with Works For Me, we're going to have it with Ted Boyko coming up. We're going to do one next Saturday. These will be pre-recorded. So not this Saturday coming, the next Saturday. The second show in August, we will have Ted on the show. And I'm going to be asking him about porting, how to drill pistons, why do you cut the skirts, why do you put windows in the back, what about 4-strokes, pressing cranks, do you weld them? You could even send questions in for Ted Boyko as well. All right? Big event. It's coming up. We're going to have him on the show every week. We're going to record 3 or 4 shows on a Saturday. We'll have them for the month. But you got to get your questions in, and we'll talk more about that in the very, very near future. All right? Here it is. Boyko Racing, Ted Boyko. I've got one more thing to mention here. This is kind of interesting in a sense of, well, let's go look at the picture. Brad Lackey, Marty Smith, Jim Pomeroy. This picture was taken in 2004 at an event called Moto. And I built this bike along with a silver bike, and we raffled this one off. This was the first time I'd ever met Marty Smith. I never saw Brad, Marty, and Jim Pomeroy at the same time, but I did on this day, and I had their faces made on the number plates, and they autographed it. And, well, it was one of those things I wanted to make it a rolling business card, so to speak. That's where I came up with like the black, white, and red. And look, it was a time in my life where I was feeling maybe overly creative, but it was one of those things that was a bike that nobody would ever forget. I got a phone call from someone. Actually, it's not from someone. It was because of Brad Lackey. Brad called me, told me the bike was at his house 2 weeks ago. The guy was there because he wanted to hear Brad's opinion on the bike and what did he know about it. They called me that day. The bike was purchased and is now going into a collection in Modesto. I am going to meet the person who had the bike, the person who now owns it, and the museum that it's going into. I will be there this Saturday, microphones, video in hand. I might go live on Saturday. If not, I'm going to record it. We're going to edit it. We're going to have a great show here. And something really incredible happened, and I can't wait to hear the real story on it. While this bike was being brought down from, I think, Northern California, and they went through Pleasant Hill on their way to Modesto, somebody got word that the bike was in a trailer where it was parked. The trailer was broken into and the bike was stolen. It was recovered quickly. That night, the police cornered the guys. They got it. The bike was returned. It was delivered to the new owner in Modesto. We're going to hear about that too. I have not seen this motorcycle in over 20 years. Jim Pomeroy and, of course, Marty, they're both gone. And that's that. But we're going to find out more about who bought it, who owned it, who almost stole it, and I'll give you all of my thoughts in that video about how all that came about. Okay? That's coming up. You know what I'd like to do? This is the Did You Know segment. This is brought to you by Jeff Kokoski. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run the Vinco commercial, which I don't think I did at the beginning of the show. I'm going to run the Vinco commercial, get a little sip of hot tea, and then we're going to be back with Jeff Kokoski and the Did You Know segment.
Okay. I'm Barry Higgins. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco, keep the ride going.
Thank you, Vinco.com. Be sure to visit them online. And they got some really great parts there, over 1,000 parts in their catalog. Did you know? Did you know is brought to us by Jeff Kokoski. Does a beautiful job every week. And this week, Jeff wants to know, or he wants you to know, actually, Jeff's question is, did you know about the vernier caliper? You know about the vernier caliper? Well, let's get right down to it. Although today a digital caliper is fairly common, I didn't know this was going to happen. Cross my eyes like that. Look at this. Looks like one of those detective magazines from the 60s. Anyway, although today a digital caliper is a fairly common tool in a mechanics or machinist toolbox, or if you worked in an internal combustion engine prior to 1990, you probably used the caliper or micrometer with a vernier scale to measure cylinder bores, piston wear, bearing, and seal diameters, as well as a whole host of parts required for precise measurement. But did you know that the history of the vernier caliper. Did you know the history of the vernier caliper? It's probably not surprising that the man who invented this is actually named Vernier. He was a Frenchman, Pierre Vernier. To be exact, came up with the idea of developing a more exact way of making measurements, and he did this in 1931. Wow. Although calipers in one form or another have been around since the time of the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Chinese, they usually consisted of a movable set of jaws without a scale that simply transferred the measurement from the tool to whatever material was being shaped, be it stone, wood, clay, or metal. The way the ancients could easily replicate measurements for consistency. In the 9th century AD, the Chinese had been known to use bronze caliper with one fixed jaw, one sliding jaw, and a graduated linear scale that functions similar to the modern day calipers that we know today, but without a vernier scale. Now, so how does Pierre Vernier, when I see Pierre, I want to say Vernier. I don't know why. Anyway, so how does Pierre Vernier come into the picture? Secondary scale that is developed, which contributed to extra precision, was not initially applied to sliding calipers. In Brussels in 1631, he proposed his scale and applied it to a device called the astronomical quadrant. Quadrants were used by scientists and astronomers of that time to measure the angles of celestial objects above the horizon in order to determine the latitude. Now, it was a precursor to the navigational sextant, which was used by mariners to measure both the longitude and the latitude. How does the secondary vernier scale work? The scales use mechanical interpolation or estimation by increasing the resolution between the two markings on the main scale rather than relying on the human eye. Obviously, it's more precise than the human eye. Okay? The vernier scale is constructed so that it's spaced at a consistent fraction of the main fixed scale, thus allowing greater resolution than what is available from the main scale. Or simply, the vernier scale spreads out the reading between the 2 points on the main scale so that the user can more accurately determine the reading before those 2 points. However, most vernier calipers have additional graduations between them, 10 marks between those 10 marks and other markings to give accuracy down to the hundredths of an inch of a millimeter, making the tool quite useful. When one of the marks on the vernier scale aligns directly with one of the marks on the main fixed scale, that value is added to the number of the main scale to give the overall measurement reading. Because of the way the scale is divided in relation to the main scale, only one mark on the vernier scale will ever align with the mark on the main fixed scale. Even though the vernier development has a scale in 1631, it really didn't make its way to the machine world for about another 100 years or even afterward. During the first industrial revolution in the later part of the 18th century, the emergence of the steam engine and locomotives required mechanical parts with tighter tolerances, so vernier scales were adapted to calipers of the day. As the sophistication of the caliper advanced, the vernier scale was replaced by a dial that functions as a vernier scale, but is much easier to read. A dial caliper utilizes a rack and pinion mechanism where a gear-toothed rack is used in transfer linear motion from the slider to a rotary motion, the pointer or hand on the dial. Although this type of caliper still utilizes a vernier scale to spread out the reading between the 2 points on the main scale, the pointer on the dial shows exactly where the secondary reading is. The user no longer has to determine which 2 lines have to match. Today, digital calipers have an electronic LCD readout. They have all but replaced the analog vernier caliper because of their ease to use and reduction in human error. Digital calipers work in incorporating what is called linear encoder, which contains a sensor that reads the position along the scale. The sensor can be converted to a position in the digital signal that gets displayed on the readout. Some digital calipers feature Bluetooth data transmission to record measurements and transmit them to a computer, helping to reduce human error in reading and recording indications. And in the event of low visibility or bad eyesight, recent advancements have also introduced a speaking caliper app that reads the measurement out loud.
Wow.
Well, how about that? Did you know from Jeff Kokoski? Got a caliper that reads out loud. They got a lathe that understands that, or a milling machine that can hear it and then cut it? I don't know. They probably do. And when you put those numbers in, That's what happens. Jeff Kokoski and the vernier caliper. Jeffrey, this is right up there, in my opinion, with the Swiss Army knife. Remember that? It's very, very interesting information, and many people have them in their shop. I have them. Jeff Kokoski, thank you so much for all you do for us here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. We're going to move right on to the announcements. The announcements, of course, are brought to you by the International Motocross Museum. I talked about it a little bit earlier. The big event is coming up in Northern California. That's on October 18th.
We have a viewer appreciation too.
Oh, we have viewer appreciation? You know what? Tell you what, sir. Here, give me the viewer appreciation. Who is it? You can tell it. I'll put you on screen.
It's Douglas Fansteel.
Doug Fansteel. Congratulations, Doug Fansteel from Youngsville, New York. But I think now he lives in somewhere in North Carolina.
Oh.
Doug Fansteel.
Yeah, he gets the mag light.
You get the mag light, Doug. Text me your address. Congratulations. Thanks for watching the show, Doug Fansteel.
How about that?
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, we're going to get back to this announcement. All right. Northern California, October 18th, 2025. The reception is from 3 to 7 p.m. This is a charity event that is put on by the Road to Recovery. Okay? We did this event a couple of years ago. It is in De La Viega Park at Santa Cruz, California. The address is right there. When you want to know more about the event, go over to the Road to Recovery and you can buy tickets there and learn more. Now, listen to me carefully. This is an all-day event. There's a vintage motocross bike display. Not a dike display, but a bike display. There's a mountain bike ride that is optional. There's a golf tournament, which is optional. There's great food. There's drinks. There's all kinds of things going on, but you got to get a ticket. Take a look at this list. Bailey, DeCoster, the Fox Brothers, Brock Glover, Billy Grossi, Lackey, Rapp, Richter, Daryl Schultz, Steve Simons, and Dana Waxham, just to name a few. Larry Wosick, and yours truly, Joe Abbate, is the host. I just got confirmation that Jeff Ward will be there that weekend. I've been to a lot of events in California over the past 15 years. I've never seen Jeff Ward north of Anaheim. So he's coming up, and I heard that he's trying to convince a few other of his friends to come with him. Get over to the Road to Recovery, get your tickets, be at the barbecue. I'll be there asking some great questions. And again, Lackey, Grossi, DeCoster. Okay? You got something you want to be autographed? You might want to get there. Thank you, FastGuyStuff.com and Ben's Vintage Mini Bike Podcast. Thank you both so much for sharing the show and all the support. This weekend, if you're not there, well, you're not going because it's already Wednesday and it's starting to happen. AMA Vintage Motorcycle Days. It is all weekend put on by Permco and Turn 14. Your master of ceremonies is Bad Brad Lackey. He will be there with his World Championship winning bike. All kinds of events where he'll be talking throughout the weekend. Got another event coming up here in September, but it's not too early to talk about it. The Vintage Trials event. It happens on Saturday, September 13th. There's a trial school. It's also a vintage motocross on Sunday, the 14th. It happens at 9 a.m. Where does this all happen? Rattlers Run in Fairfield, Washington. Okay? Got a lot of events out there, a lot of ARMA events, and we're going to be hopefully doing a little bit more with ARMA on the show. I try and bring as many events as possible to the announcements, and we're going to be bringing even more. I want to thank Ed Roman and Al Newman, a couple other guys out there who are regional managers for ARMA. All right. What else we got happening here? Oh, if you're not in Mid-Ohio this weekend and you are within the Rio Bravo area of Texas, the Houston area, you can go down there. It's an open day of riding. The regular fees apply. They'll also be raffling off a Jeremy McGrath jersey. I don't know if Jeremy's going to be there or not, but they got some other really cool stuff there. This is, of course, to benefit Donnie Emler, a cancer benefit for Donnie Emler. Okay? So you can't make it to Mid-Ohio and you're in Texas, go over to Rio Bravo MX Park. It's a great cause. What else we got happening here? Why don't you ask me about sponsorship opportunities? I've got lower rates for 2025. I got something for everybody. In fact, I've got a rate starting at $295 a month. And humility stops me from putting my new metrics on the board, but I'll tell you what they are. And I posted them on Facebook the other day. I'm 1,700,000 people every 90 days. And it's going up according to what I'm seeing. Now, you see that thing on Facebook where they tell you to boost your post and to do this and to do that? You could boost all you want for $5, $15, and $20. You're not reaching you're not reaching 1,700,000 devoted vintage motocross followers. You would if you put your product on this show, like Vinco, Bultaco, East, Full Circle Racing, and Motion Pro. Get a hold of me at $295 a month. That's the cheapest ones. There's bigger packages. There's more. Okay? Get a hold of me. We'll put something together for you that's really special. Also, the show isn't only on just once a week live. I've got shows every day. Got the Moto Minute at 8:55, Tank Bangers at 9 o'clock, where you see me sweat like a dog for an hour over a tank as I share my secrets of the last 25 years of taking dents out of aluminum tanks. Got the Next Time Try This every day at 12 and throughout the afternoon at 1, 2, 3. I've got interviews. We've got posts going up every day of bikes we restored, different videos that have been sent in to us by Jerry Maddox, Roy Vanderveer, Robert Oscar Pomeroy, a lot of other really cool stuff. Okay? Congratulations to Doug Fansteel. Congratulations to George Camacho. Congratulations to Al Ruth. This could be the first episode of the show I've ever done where I actually remembered all the winners without asking Susie who they were. Oh, you know what? Watch this. I got one more cool thing to show you. Watch this. That's it for Vintage Motocross Q&A. Hang on, he's right here. Yep. Okay. Say goodnight, Jane. That's it for this episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you for watching. Keep sharing the show. Support our sponsors.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next time. Thanks, Susie, baby.